Welcome to another episode of Digital Dive Media Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Kelly, founder and CEO of Brand Method Media Group. And we are speaking with Bryce Davies today. Bryce Davies is the general manager of workforce.com, which is a cloud-based workforce management system that helps businesses spend less time on paper timesheets and schedules and more time on building great teams. Welcome to the show, Bryce.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kelly.
Absolutely. So let's start from the beginning. What is your background career-wise, and what does your role consist of with Workforce?
Sure. So yeah, I've had a bit of an odd path into software. I actually started studying electronic engineering. So when I completed my studies, I sort of looked into the future, and I didn't want to be stuck in a basement, kind of soldering parts on a soldering board somewhere. So decided to pick a career where they'd let me out and speak to customers. And I was lucky enough to come across it was a startup at the time, Workforce. And yes, I've been at the company now for about 5 years, and I head up our operations over in London in the UK.
Awesome. So with everything going on, what sort of pivoting has Workforce had to do in a COVID-19 environment when it comes to marketing, if any at all?
Yeah, I mean a lot. So one of the big things that we saw throughout the world, but particularly in the UK with lockdowns, was much harder to reach customers face to face. We're primarily a business to business tool, and we spend a lot of time trying to get in front of customers. So we had a lot of emphasis on an event and an exhibition strategy, which more or less we had to put on hold. Actually the exhibition center that we were using got turned into a field hospital for
Oh, wow.
that. So that's one of the Nightingale hospitals here in London, and it's still being run as one. So all of that's off the board. So we've had to start reaching people more virtually. I don't think any of your listeners would be surprised at that, and that comes with its own challenges as well.
And so just to give a little bit of background, you mentioned that you guys have recently undergone a rebrand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've for quite a while been known as Tanda, so TAN DA, and to which we are still known in the Southern Hemisphere. Well, one of the pitfalls of that names, I think, is when you're calling people on the phone, people often think you're calling from Tinder. So that's not what we're calling from. We're
That
calling
could
from a
go
very
either
different.
way, right?
It could. It often does go either way. Yes, but no. Really, where the rebrand came from is we found a media partner based in the States who runs the Workforce magazine, and they've published that magazine for over 90 years. And inside that company, they had a lot of experience around communicating about some of the issues that we really touch on with our software. Keeping staff engaged, promoting fairness and inclusion inside the organization. We just thought they were a really good fit to partner with us, and we thought it made sense to kind of put that workforce label over everything we do. We make software, but then we also make information products and communicating all of those things out around the world through that brand now.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. I had a chance to look through the website, and overall, you guys have a really strong history in terms of longevity.
Yeah, that's right. I think what it really just shows is these problems that we're solving now through software have kind of they've always been problems. Even at the start of the century, they were talking about how do we keep people engaged, how do we promote people and promote inclusion so that we can build really strong companies. So it's a problem that's never away. We just happen to be solving it more recently through software, and in 100 years' time from now, we might find other more innovative ways to solve this problem as well.
Absolutely. Now, looking forward to the future, in an 18 to 24 month scenario with everything going on, politically, COVID, everything going on, what do you think marketing looks like? How will we be reaching people going forward for the next year and a half, 2 years?
I think without sort of speculating on what will happen with COVID, I think one of the longer term trends, which is kind of being accelerated here, is kind of this promotion of community and kind of building a moat around your audience. So I think everyone more or less now has kind of cottoned onto this idea that we want to be, if we have a brand, we want to be building an audience, and we've always thought that, but how can we engage them into communities where that we can have a more sort of human dialogue with them, whether that's through various chat messages or community boards or Facebook groups or different programs like that. And I think there'll be a really big intensification of a lot of that through the push towards running more engaging newsletters and that sort of thing. I think customers and businesses are really trying to put their arms around their customers now, bring them in and kind of be a bit more authentic with them. and sort of hope that that really keeps them more engaged and helps them drive that message for their business more effectively. I think we're just going to see an intensification of that over the next 18, 24 months as it's harder to get in front of people.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think that's always been sort of the goal of marketing, but now with where we are globally, that's forefront. You're not going to flash something shiny in front of someone and get them to opt in, or it really has to be a concerted effort and it has to be authentic. And I think that's a positive out of all of this. And it'll be exciting to see how it plays out. What type of creative approaches will companies and brands take to do that? You won't be able to just get by with, a few posts here and there. This is what we offer. You'll have to really dig deep and figure out what the pain points are and how do we address that in a creative and educational way that drives impact. So I'm excited about it. I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially what some of the bigger brands do. And then, that kind of sets the trend for smaller brands. So
Yeah,
now,
I think so. I mean, I just make a point on that. Like, I think for a long time we've always been really familiar with this concept of content marketing, which is essentially we create a valuable piece of content that adds value to the customer, hopefully, and that's kind of this transactional way that we give them value, and then we're able to kind of communicate about our brand as well. But there might be new forms that can take. I think brands really want to kind of be there to add value, not just through their products but also through their marketing as well, and allow a lot of that feedback to come back through those marketing channels. So, one thing we really saw, when it was harder to get in front of people and a lot of those channels were kind of harder to use, is we kind of felt like we lost the market a little bit. It's hard to know what do people care about. COVID's coming in. Are they more concerned about paying the bills? Are they more concerned about the health of their staff, that sort of thing? And it's been really through, I guess, innovation and marketing, we've been able to kind of recapture a lot of those pain points from the customer.
that's awesome. So individually, Bryce, a lot of our listeners are up and coming or they're making a career shift. And one of the things that we kind of drive home is the importance of keeping your skills sharp. So what are you doing to keep your skills sharp? What are you consuming? Is it websites, podcasts, certain news outlets? What do you consume to just stay abreast of what's going on and how you can be the best at what you do for the company?
Yeah, so I think you kind of touched on two of the big things I'm thinking about already. So one of them is this kind of disruption. So there's COVID, and you've got a whole political situation going on over there as well, and that's really driving change in a lot of these industries. But I spent a lot of time recently just looking at the media. So in particular, newspapers. Newspapers are a really interesting example because everyone wrote off newspapers, say 10, 15 years ago. The newspaper industry is dead. It's gone. We're not going to be reading them anymore. But that's not what's happened. In fact, a lot of them, certain businesses now derive, almost 60% of their revenues through online means, whether that's through, subscriptions or other information products. And they're innovating, and they're information businesses that are shifting online. And now those things start to look more similar to software companies because they have recurring revenue models. They're reaching these similar audiences. And what a lot of them are doing now is they're diversifying into different services. And what a software company like Workforce will look at, ultimately with marketing is, what's the cost of acquisition for a customer? And we're already seeing some big acquisitions being made in this space where a software company might come in and say, hey, there's a media partner here that talks to our customers. Why don't we acquire them? And then we can essentially kind of use a dedicated marketing channel for delivering our services. So kind of looking at how some of these big companies have navigated the change has been helpful, I think, for us as well.
That's super interesting. I guess I've maybe sort of seen that, but didn't really take it all in. That's a really interesting perspective. So with that being said, what's coming up next for Workforce? What are you guys working on? What's coming up next?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question. I think in terms of what's coming up next. I think for us, we kind of realize that there's been kind of two parts to this COVID challenge that we've all had. The first one is it's a crisis, and during that crisis, everyone has kind of shut down and has been really looking internally. So businesses are looking at their bank balances, they're looking at the staff, trying to retain the ones that they have, and there's a lot of kind of very reactionary forces around there, like trying to keep staff engaged, trying to keep them safe. So we've built some tools around there. One of them is called Reopen, and essentially what we do is we allow businesses that might have shop fronts to allow their customers to kind of book in times to just come and see and visit their shop. What that does is it basically means that you don't find you having to close and create a bad customer experience because there's too many people in the store or that sort of thing. So trying to innovate around there. But the big thing for us, we realize that what COVID has done is has introduced these big shifts that a lot of people don't understand yet. People talk about the migration, everyone working from home. What does that look like? But what we're really trying to do at the moment is promote communication between employees and employers, because that's one of the first things that breaks down once everyone's kind of working from home, or parts of your staff working from home. It starts creating divides between the organization if you're not able to kind of manage that well. We're focusing a lot of effort to try to keep businesses keep all their employees engaged and keep them profitable throughout that. And the challenge for that is probably not going to go away. It's probably going to be a very challenging time over the next, say, 2 or 3 years.
So in an environment where you have people working from home and, varying levels of management to hourly employees, how does Workforce support that?
I think one of the big things to keep in mind with our customers is, we work with a lot of customers who they might be running bars or restaurants or aged care homes where they have a situation where they've got people who have to work on site, and we've got people who might be in management or other roles where they're working from home. And a big thing for us, I think, there is twofold. One of them is helping them with communications. So basically making sure that even though you are working from home, you still feel just as engaged as if you were on site, and kind of breaking down some of those barriers where people feel like they don't want to message other people because they're going to be bothering them. Actually, we find it's the opposite. You need to over communicate to those people and keep them bought into the mission. And then two is just kind of leaning back on that company vision and company mission and say, we're all bought in, we're all moving and all pulling in the right direction. And even if you are working from home, you're contributing just as much as if you're on the shop floor. So yeah, it's kind of it's giving them the tools to do that, but also kind of helping them with the mindset as well.
Absolutely. So where can people get in touch with you for more information about Workforce?
Definitely. So yeah, as the name would suggest, workforce.com, you can put that into your browser and you can take a look at our software solution. But also there's a lot of really good resources on there as well, some white papers, and we're always publishing pieces on a lot of these topics that people care about, and you can find a lot of our COVID resilience documents through there as well.
Awesome. We've been speaking with Bryce Davies of workforce.com. Thank you so much for your time, Bryce.
No worries. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for having me.